good afternoon, evening, my wacky friends. The Cursed Grand Prix series is about to get ready for round numero dos of the season in about 15 or so minutes time, because, it's probably not going to start on time because, people are probably still not okay with crossplay. Who cares what the dry compounded tires are, the C1, the C2, C3 in the stats? Doesn't matter because we are in for Bahrain and real rain. Don't expect a race lap record. That 1 minute 31, out the door. C1, C2, C3 tires, nope, out the door. Put tires with grooves in them. And not slick tires with grooves in them, like 2008, but actual groove tires, like the Cinturanos, the wets, and the intermediate compounds. Looks like a lot of these are going up, so into that. But hopefully, things will go smoothly this time around. Enjoy this nice wet circuit this time around as we head to the circuit of Bahrain. Figured out for the lobbies because for some reason on console. That's not the button I want to hit. Lovely now. What is it? Did I leave my phone in the room? I sure did. Don't give me a moment. I'll still be here. I'm still here. To remind you, the mess that you left went to play. It is round number 2 of the Cursed Grand Prix series. Round number 1 was very interesting changeable conditions in China, and we are headed off to another wet day. This time, though, Bahrain is going to be likely soaking wet the whole way through. So we won't even worry about what the dry tire compounds are. It is going to be 5.4 kilometers around, 15 corners. Of course, we'll get a look at the track map when the intro goes in earnest. But, of course, with the rain comes no DRS use of the DRS. So those 3 DRS zones around the circuit, now no help. Our normal best overtaking opportunities, the action zones, based on the usually the help of the DRS. And then, with no DRS, we might have some interesting overtaking action happening this weekend. So, what time is it? 12:52, nearly 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And it should be about. So, rock in and well with. China already in the books, Bahrain this week. Then we've got Abu Dhabi in F2 cars coming up in the following race. Then we head over to Baku, where stop worrying. Tech Pro barrier, this is shambolic. Still a little bit working. It may get knocked and cause some serious problems. Damage, though, will be off for the cars in that race, so nobody will be retired because of that wild. Alright, looks like there's a couple PlayStation players who kind of need to daisy chain their way into the box. Let's see. Search and find. Looks like we're getting it sorted. Okay, so people are. I mean, you are more than welcome to join the race right now. It is shambles. What's Nordi doing? Where is that man? Kanurdi. Get in the races, you boys. It is cursed. It is fun. And, you know, it'll be damp as all get out, as you guys can see today. Really, that's your excuse? Cat is in the chair. Alright, so we will have some different names. I believe at one certain. Oh, that's right, I didn't turn the music down like I normally do. Good call. That's normally where I have the music at. I just didn't turn it down. Rireen is going to be Clem 04. So when you see a Clem on the track, that is indeed the PlayStation Ferrari champion of Rireen. Do I have, I don't know that I have you on my friends list. Yeah, Space Ghost isn't in the lobby at the moment. Yeah, try joining on Cruzo since he's the host. Yeah, so Space Ghost is in the main menu, so I think he's disconnected and reconnecting. I know Bananarama is getting into the lobby. Space Ghost is reconnecting, so maybe try him now. He's showing is in the lobby now, so you might be able to, it may be that he was just cycling out of the lobby real quick. So yeah, Reno, you may be able to get in now. He's showing on Steam as in the multiplayer session. It's like Ruprath is getting an update done. Smaller grid this week. Quite a few more people that responded as no's this week. But shambles still can happen. Let me try and message you. Try and get one of the Mercedes boys in here. Mr. Arden. Alright, where is... Let me see. Cruzo, Archduke are in. I see both of them. Space Ghost is in. We're missing Chronicle. Issei is in. Yeah, I'm kind of like, I'm looking at my third screen on my far right, so I'm kind of trailing away, looking away from the mic. Because I'm just trying to see and make sure that everybody is in. At least that we can possibly have in. But I will, once we get to actual broadcasting, I'm not looking at that right side so aggressively. You should be able to hear me better. Don't worry. That is purely on me. By literally just like looking away from the mic and not speaking down into it. Reno, send me your DM me your Steam ID and I'll try and add you. Because I think they're going to get going very soon here. Also, check and make sure that your crossplay is switched on in your settings. That may be a part of it, because it is a crossplay lobby. We do have some PlayStation and Xbox players in here. Some console plebs. Although PlayStation seems to be showing up the PC players. So far in this one. Bring that up to the front. But yeah, we're close. I think we're getting the message that Crusoe is wanting to punt it forward. Okay. Okay, I accepted you, Reno. There you are. See if you can join off me. For some reason I don't. Hold on, let's see if I can do it through the game. Okay, I sent you an invite through the game. See if that works. Okay, our end is in. Alrighty, I think, let's see, Arn's in the car. We're running down the clock here. Reno, you had any luck getting into the game? While I get there. For some reason, my microphone decided that it wanted to stop working. Hello, welcome back. Apologies. Thank you for pointing that out, Mako. I was just saying, NACTRAC has had a fantastic start up into 5th place, and well, that's what you'd expect from a Cursed Grand Prix champion. Our end has had a spin. Has he had any damage, or has he had a contact? I don't know what he's had. He's had something. Something has happened. Let me see the car. It seems to be okay. Yeah, it was hard to see that end plate for a second there, but it seems to be all right. So maybe just a struggle in the wet weather conditions. We'll jump back to this battle as Cruzo ripping down in a straight line, trying to make the overtake around the outside of Chronicle. Goes Bananarama and Cruzo. The Chronicle is going to have a chance to re-attack this time by. Hopefully you are hearing game audio at least. Hopefully it was just my audio that was off. Ruprath into the pit lane, likely for some damage repairs. Chronicle defending the inside. As Dr. Zados around the outside, side by side through this little left-hand kink, and Zados gets the cut and gets to the front. Just ahead, Clem leading away from Mako. Space Ghost Nordy now working his way up towards the podium positions. NACTRAC had that blinder of a start, but now starting to lose a bit of ground to the cars ahead. Cruzo now on the back of Bananarama. And as we take a look, NACTRAC, the biggest gainer at the start here, picking up those 8 positions from the very beginning, and now Ruprath has lost the most, 4 positions down, but the top 3 are as they were, and only a few people being shuffled back 1 position by the virtue of NACTRAC's massive improvement. Issei got kind of squeezed out at the start of the race in turn 2 by our end there, but ultimately only had the 1 position. Our end has already picked up some track limits penalties, so he's had a bit of an adventure off the circuit. As it is wet tires all around, as we would expect to see all day today. Our end seems to be doing some sweet drifting through turn 10, and now has the tires under him, and I guess trying to get it warmed up. But 5-second instant corner cutting penalty for the Mercedes driver. We'll jump back up towards the mid-pack as Archduke Oregano now putting the screws to Issei. He's going to pull to the inside, turn 14. No news going there. He's got to tuck in and just hang out as Clem continues to set fastest laps of the race. So we don't expect a ton of tire degradation. NACTRAC has dropped a couple of spots. He's had a bit of a mistake, it would appear, through turn 16, 14, 15. There's 15 corners. How is there turn 17? There's not 17. There's only 15 corners around here, and 15's not much of a corner, really. But our end seems to be struggling quite a bit with the car as Ruprath is going to sneak on by. And they are in need of a safety car to try and bunch that one back up and give them a little bit of help. NACTRAC, though, losing the pace in the full wet conditions. Had that blinder of a start, but now that they're getting kind of settled into the rhythm of it, seems to be a little bit off the pace from the cars around, as they've dropped now back all the way to 7th place after being their high water mark of P5. Zados and Cruzo, Division 2 rivals who fought it out a bit this season, and they will continue to fight it up. And Cruzo off the circuit under braking, has to just kind of bail out to avoid an incident, but he is going to settle back in and hold ground. Archduke Oregano still putting some pressure on Issei. It's the 74 car, so 7 and 74 for the Ferrari duo, it would appear today. And we will see if Archduke can make anything happen in this one. Local yellows for the Mercedes at the back, struggling in this full wet conditions. And, you know, the front of the field is gapping out just a little bit. Your closest battles on track are this one and then the Zados and Cruzo saga, which is starting to heat up as they're getting near Bananarama in the Alfa Romeos, just outside of 1 second of his teammate NACTRAC, who is now fallen 2 seconds off of Archduke Oregano. So the defending Salt and Sauce champion, after a blinding start, is sliding through the field down to 7th now. He's lost positions to Issei and Archduke Oregano. Now Bananarama getting involved. Cruzo and Zados also starting to reel in NACTRAC at this stage of the race. Issei has kind of stabilized pace to Nordy just ahead, but is not really making any big headway as fast as laps go. Clem, the only one down into the 44s. Otherwise, Mako mid 45s, as are the rest of the top four. Issei 45.0, the fastest. And Nagtrack a 47.1, so pace very much a struggle. And off the circuit is Zados, a big spin. Luckily, it looks like it was just the rear of the car slapping the wall. He's managed to avoid, I think, any wing damage and has not strewn any debris on track as Chronicle sweeps around the outside. And I think Zados is going to be just fine after that. Maybe a little bit of time lost from the spin, but there appears to be no damage on that Aston Martin. And back underway they go. Into the pit lane is our end. We'll see if they continue on in this one or if it is going to be an early retirement as they have had their struggles. Although it looks like there's some damage. They're taking some serious time in the pit lane. They will go a lap down to the leaders. Nordy not really in a position to attack Space Ghost just yet. He's still hanging right on to about that 1 second. However, no DRS help available to the drivers today in these full wet conditions, so it will remain as it is. They're going to have to do it all on track, and with some brave moves. Cruzo chasing down the back of Bananarama, who looks like Nagtrack has finally started to pick up the pace a little bit, has made some ground on Archduke ahead, as Chronicle and Zados now dueling into turn 1, 2, and 3. Chronicle off the circuit to the inside of 3. He's going to try and use the overtake and the slipstream. Is he going to dive to the inside of turn 4? He's got the line up the inside. A little bit of contact as they're trying to navigate the lapped traffic. And around goes Chronicle. He's had a bit of a spin. It looks like he's managed to stay out of the barriers in the Sebastian Vettel Memorial runoff. And oh no, Space Ghost is around. Space Ghost has had a big mistake through turns 9 and 10. He's dropped several positions. That promotes Nordy up into the podium spots. And now he's inserted himself right in between Archduke and Nagtrack. And Nagtrack has got a little bit of pace going. He's gotten down into the 46.3s. Still going to have to find a fair bit of pace, though, to start catching these leaders up. But as is, your closest battle now on track is the fight between Nagtrack and Space Ghost. Although it looks like Nagtrack has picked up a 3-second time penalty. Arend had to serve an instant 5-second corner cutting penalty. And it looks like they're all trying to work their way now through. Mako now setting the fastest lap of the race in this one. Starting to maybe make a little bit of headway on Clem out front. Not sure. Guess we'll just have to wait and find out. But it looks like Space Ghost has dropped off the back of Archduke, who's taking that opportunity to try and kind of run away from the pack. Nagtrack really putting the pressure on the McLaren driver now as they head down through this middle sector, the first sector. Cruzo still haunting the back of Bananarama, but doesn't seem to be really putting too much pressure. You can see just in the background there as they come down into turn 4. Like the rest of the Curse Grand Prix series, it is presets for the setups. You do not have any custom setups, so drivers are kind of having to navigate their way around some trickier setups, but it does kind of minimize the field spread a bit more as far as that setup differential is concerned. I would expect that with the full wet conditions, pretty much everybody has bolted on the highest downforce package they can get away with. I doubt people would be running too low of a downforce package, and it seems like on the straights, seems like cars are pretty similar in pace overall, so I don't expect there to be huge gaps in the setups around this circuit here. Bananarama and Cruzo still nose to tail, as is Nagtrack and Space Ghost, as the Salt and Sauce defending champion is trying to get himself up into the points after not participating in round 1 of this 6-round casual off-season championship. There is bragging rights to be had, and really some bragging rights as you deal with the toughest conditions that you possibly can over the course of a season. Looks like Arend well off the circuit in turn 10 there, as he's had another lockup. And down the inside goes Nagtrack, late on the brakes, so although it was on the straights, maybe Space Ghost just kind of lifted and let him through, tired of the pressure. Well, the pace seemed to be pretty good for Space Ghost, and looks like Cruzo has done the same on Bananarama as he goes up into 8th place ahead of the Alfa Romeo. We'll see, is Bananarama going to have any response, any re-attack, or is Cruzo going to have to strike off and head up and try and catch the next group? Chronicles had a bit of a moment through the first couple of corners. He's starting to fall back towards Ruprath. Although, as it stands, 13 drivers all still running in this one. And however, you know, one retirement puts Chronicle and Ruprath battling for a point in this one, as looks like struggles for our end continue down the back straight of towards turn 14. There's another bit of big lockup. He's trying the inters and they're not working. So that is the struggle that is going on now. The intermediate tires are not functional in this level of wetness. We'll take a moment, as you usually don't get to see too much TV coverage of the leaders, so we'll jump on board with Clem, who is in race leading position, a good 2.3 seconds ahead of another PlayStation driver, who were once again showing that PC is indeed washed. And, well, if you're going to be washed, pouring rain is the time to do it, but the PlayStation Division 1 champion showing that it was not just a factor of the smaller grid, definitely has the claim to fight. And, you know, the other thing with the Curse Grand Prix series, it is serving as a bit of an extra test bed for crossplay to make sure that it is indeed working. It seems to be doing well, as we may, in Season 7, coming after the new year, we may not have PlayStation or Xbox divisions left. We may be down to just divisions. So we may have seen, indeed, the last runnings of the PlayStation Xbox division in Brazil this last time out, and as an Xbox division participant, was a good solid 6 seasons, a fun time, but looking forward to some of the outliers, the champions that took over to fall back, to get sorted into tiers, and those see some closer racing. As across 6 seasons of Xbox, we had just 3 different champions, although Season 6 did see a first-time champion in LC Fighter. Otherwise, it was split between Povey and QX Nemesis for the previous 5 seasons. So there's a lap on board with your race leader, Clem. 9 laps into this 29-lap race, and we are continuing to mosey along. Drivers are being relatively cautious, it would seem. We need somebody to go full send and start it, but now we've got Ruprath and a lapped down R-End just on the back. Is R-End still on? Appears to still be on those inters based on the way that they've kind of sailed off the track there. Oh, good run from Ruprath. Defensive goes Chronicle, has to try and keep the Haas behind. Very tight to the inside is Chronicle. They've kind of, with that sharp angle, they've almost defended fresh air. I think they could have stayed on the racing line and made Ruprath try to go to the inside. You really want to, in wet conditions, it's almost better to maintain the outside line and have that that high ground to carry the speed. But up into 11th goes Ruprath, and off the track in the background is R-End, who I would assume he's gone back onto the wet tires, but still very much a struggle. Around the outside is Chronicle trying to make another move. And the other thing is that, a big snap of oversteer from Ruprath. Chronicle sneaks his way through, but the other thing with Chronicle's defense in turn 14 last lap was that he was too far to the inside. He almost pinned his own lineup instead of coming all the way back to just 1 car width from the racing line, which is the amount of space that Ruprath had given for Chronicle to take back. But he stayed to the inside and compromised. But a big snap of oversteer from Ruprath, and now all of a sudden, it's nearly a second the gap between Chronicle and Ruprath once again. So Ruprath now having to chase down the McLaren ahead. Mako sets a new fastest lap of the race, maybe trying to make some headway down into to Clem's lead, but 2.2 seconds is still relatively comfortable. But Chronicle, a little bit slow as our end is racking up the track limits penalties. To the outside goes Ruprecht. It looks like he's going to get the cutback on turn 12, and looks like he's got decent drive out of the corner. Chronicle covered the racing line pretty well, and that's kept Ruprecht. But once again, Chronicle very defensive to the inside. He's got about half the track he could give before, and now has gone a bit straight on in turn 14 and now turn 15, and really has lost quite a bit of ground on the straight lines. Now we'll jump ahead. Cruzo catching up to Space Ghost in the McLaren. 1 second just about the margin between these two. Ferrari versus McLaren is a historic battle and will continue to be so pretty much for all time as long as they're all in Formula One. There's still local yellows for our end struggling. But Cruzo really putting the shift on now, starting to close up to the back of Space Ghost, who was running in the podium positions for a decent chunk of the start of this race, but an early spin dropped them down, and they were able to avoid damage. Mako's had a disconnection, so he's going to have to try and get back into the lobby relatively quickly, I hope, because he's in second. And that's a PlayStation 1-2 once again. Really showing that the top PlayStation drivers do have a handle on some of these PC drivers. Nordy and our end and Knack Track are the 3 Division 1 drivers. We may see Division 2 champion Dr. Zados potentially take the jump up to Div 1 next season. However, if it's crossplay and there is some drivers I would expect to be in Div 1 in the console divisions like Clem, Mako, and drivers like LC Fighter, QX Nemesis, and MJ Povey would likely go to PC Division 1 as well. May make it a little bit crowded at the top. Oh, to the inside. Is that Issei off the track? It is Issei, who has had a moment. It looks like his front wing is still intact. I don't think there's been tremendous damage to it, but has cost him several positions. He slots in right between the battle between Space Ghost and Cruzo. So now we've got a much closer fight starting to gear up between these 3 drivers. Issei, another very rapid driver from the Xbox division, likely would be, according to Superpole, at least qualifying pace could compete with the Div 1 drivers, but likely closer to a cross-play high Div 2, which would put him very much in range to compete with the likes of Cruzo and Zados quite well. But we will have to see how everything shakes out in the time trials, as there have been some adjustments to the handling model since our last time trial reports for last season. And of course, we will dial up that sign-up process at just after the New Year holiday. But Issei really putting the pressure on to Space Ghost. Knack Track up a second and change up the road from Space Ghost, just handling, just kind of holding station up into the top 5 now is the previous champion. And it looks like our end is off the circuit down the main straight. Doesn't look to be in the pit lane, so they're going to have to avoid that Mercedes. Oh, he's facing the wrong way, so he's got to wait for all these cars to come through and get his car spun back around. It looks like he's done so. And here comes Dr. Zados up here. But Mako was able to reconnect. He's lost a little bit of time. But Archduke Oregano has lost position to Knack Track. Knack Track all of a sudden got a shift on. 2 seconds was lost. So I think it had to have been a mistake from Archduke Oregano. I missed that as I was taking a look and make sure that Mako was back in and calculating how much time he had lost. And I saw that all of a sudden there was a change of position between P4 and P5. Now, our end picking up lots more track limits penalties. Likely probably get DSQ. I mean, we did see somebody go over 30 seconds of time penalties last week. Will we see it happen again? And I think Archduke may just have better pace than Knack Track today, because Knack Track, I mean, is not running away from it. And I think Space Ghost is starting to catch up to the back. We may have like a 5-way fight for P4 if Space Ghost can kind of bridge the gap. And straight on goes Archduke. He's outbraked himself, gone very deep into turn 11 there. He's managed to get the car back on circuit, but he just kind of shot off there and lost a good couple of tenths of a second in that one, and that is only going to help get Space Ghost back in the fight. Issei and Crusoe still holding the same positions they were when Issei rejoined that in the middle of that fight, and seems to be hanging out just fine. We'll jump in, take a look at it as our end is out. Our end off the circuit, and we are going to have a safety car, so the field is going to get bunched up. And Issei into the pit lane, Knacktrack, Archduke, Space Ghost, all coming in. It is range that you can get a fresh set of tires on. But we are going to bunch the field right back up. And as the old saying goes, cautions breed cautions. And maybe we will see some more action. So far, relatively unshambolic for the Cursed Grand Prix series. We'll have to keep an eye. The leaders were clear of the safety car already, so everybody will drive past the safety car. And the leaders will still be driving to a Delta, so should have no problems coming in, getting their tire changes done, and maintaining their gap to the field. So they won't lose any positions based on where, if the safety car had come out a little bit earlier, where the leaders might have been picked up by it before they could make their pit stop. That's when you really get it interesting, because drivers can kind of hurry to catch the safety car and get there after their pit stop. But it looks like pretty much everybody, it looks like these top three have the gap to the field that they will need to make their tire change, get their fresh wet tires, and everybody will be ready to get back to racing relatively soon. We'll take probably a couple laps of extra time to get the field bunched back up under these wet conditions, and towards the pit lane comes Clem. Hard on the brakes, gets it slowed down perfectly. No pit track or speeding penalties. Nordy, no speeding penalty. Nordy, hit the brakes. There you go. Okay, no speeding penalties for anybody. So, new tires go on to the Williams, new tires on to the Aston Martin, and new tires on the Red Bull. And everybody else has been driving to the Delta. Knacktrack, after making their pit stop, is going to close up a little bit, but it is not going to be quite enough for them to gain or lose any position. So Knacktrack making a very timely overtake, just about a half a lap before a safety car was called. So, settle in, y'all. And we'll get ready for some new racing. The leader just about been getting picked up by the safety car, tucking in behind, and now everybody behind will be free to hustle and bunch the pack back up. So we will relax and enjoy the rain. 3-second time penalties for Knacktrack and Bananarama. It seems it's only Alfa Romeo picking up penalties this time by. And our end on the verge of seeing if the 30 seconds was indeed a DSQ. We didn't find out because of the retirement. So and he's saying, yeah, TC and ABS off in full wet conditions is a monster challenge, and that makes it a little more understandable the struggles that he was having today, because wow, it's a tricky circuit already in the dry with TC and ABS off, especially the complex. Basically turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Even turn 11 and 12 are a little tricky coming up the hill with the traction control off, because the car does love to lose the rear a bit. We are just about halfway through this race, and we are going to have a lovely bunched up field. Like Knacktrack has gotten onto the back of the pack. Space Ghost still trying to find his way towards the rear of the pack here. Everybody should have some fresh batteries to attack with. Nobody should have any fuel issues in this one, because it's, chucking it down, as they say. And we've certainly had more than Bahrain's usual annual partake of rain here this time by. In this race, it's just been chucking it down the whole way, but that is part of the Curse Grand Prix series. We make things happen that don't necessarily always happen, and Bahrain is one of them. Ruprath and Chronicle still a ways to go to catch the pack. Might not even be able to catch the pack before it is sent back to racing speeds. Unfortunate, the McLaren's fancy livery is gone, the Singapore Special. All cars back to their regularly scheduled liveries. The Ferrari had gone from their 75th anniversary a couple races ago. It looks like Cruzo has lost his front wing. Has he run into the back of his own teammate and lost his front wing? That is an interesting development for the Ferrari team because it looked like there was a little contact nose to tail between the two of them. And now he's puttering around Bahrain looking like an anteater. When I would assume all the ants have gone to ground. Or actually, no, they would come out of the rain because their homes would be filling with water. So maybe it is the time for the anteater Ferrari to come in. Ruprath nearly onto the back of the pack. Still no indicator of the safety car being in just yet, so maybe Cruzo will get bailed out a little bit. He's certainly got to make a pit stop to get that nose changed. Vehicular rhinoplasty is what we're getting at. And should have a new nose coming in relatively soon. So we'll keep an eye on Cruzo. Because, and there he is. He's going to speed off, and he'll be in the pit lane before he is told to give the place back. So that's worth hustling forward. He won't get penalized for any of those. And yes, new nose going on. Off with the old, on with the new. And I think you're allocated 3 sets of full wet tires, so this would be his last set of full wet tires. Chronicle is just not catching the pack. Is he struggling or is he just not hustling? It's hard to tell. Struggling. Back end really snapping on that McLaren. Cruzo's got to hustle around. I would assume that the safety car is probably going to come in this lap with the late pit stops being made. Well, lap 16 of 29, and we will have a good little 13-lap run to the end as we'll hit lap 17. Everybody's got fresh sets of those full wet compound tires. Cruzo should be able to just about catch the pack up before it goes green. Looks like there's a little bit of overlapping going on in the pack between Bananarama and Archduke. So it looks like they've got that well and truly sorted. So the 2-second gap that Clem had built up, gone now. Mako had been setting some fast laps of the race, so maybe getting used to the feel of this wet track, and maybe just needed that gap to be taken down for free and get back to the racing as safety car is indeed in this lap. Cruzo is just about a corner behind everybody. That's not the button I want. That's the button I want. As we wait for Clem to get ready to restart this race. Getting some temperature into the tires as they back the pack up. Let the safety car get well and truly away. It's a long front straight. Slipstreaming is a thing. And we will see who can get, if Mako can get the run, or Nordy is also right up there. PlayStation 1, 2 still maintained with Xbox in P6. Otherwise, PlayStation the rest of the way around. Now around the corner, and full throttle is down. Rearene is off. It looks like somebody's had a spin. It looks like Ruprath and Chronicle is out. Chronicle is out of the race. Chronicle has DNF'd on the restart. But further up, we have Naktrack and Nordy down into turn 1. Naktrack up into third place. Makes the positional move on Nordy. Archduke Oregano now trying to go for the cutback. Gets to maybe the inside of the Alpine of Issei just ahead. He's got the run. Side by side, they go down to turn 4. Full overtake deployment. Nordy trying to switch it back to the inside of Naktrek up ahead. Side by side, Archduke stays ahead of Issei. Nordy has gotten the position back on one certain Mr. Naktrek. Clem, 1.2 seconds already on Mako. So Mako really needs to get the pace going once again. But Chronicle out of this race on the restarts. Looks like there was maybe a tangle further back. And now we are nearly to the position where all finishers get points. 11 cars left racing in this one, as there is a really loud car alarm going on outside. Hopefully it's not too annoying. All right, apologies for not being able to compensate over the battle between Space Ghost and Cruzo as it comes down into turn 14. They've got their own teammate Archduke Oregano ahead, but I had to just mute my mic because that car alarm was really, really annoying and very loud, actually. So Clem sets a new fast lap of the race. Space Ghost has a run on Archduke to the inside. He's got to try and maneuver because he's pinched between two Ferraris. 3 wide, they come down into turn 1. Zados is out of the session as they're all side by side. Zados on the pit straight out of the race. Issei getting involved now. Both Ferraris are through. Cruzo has managed to overtake, and it is a full safety car. A full safety car right as that move was getting made. Whoa. That was interesting. And now we're back to safety car conditions, and we will just hang out for a minute. But, wow, 3 wide down into turn 1. Space Ghost had the run on Archduke, could only pull so far to the inside to try and make the overtake stick because they had Cruzo on the further inside of them as they went 3 wide. And now, well, should be a relatively short safety car period as the field is already pretty well bunched up. Probably could have been a VSC, honestly. Probably could have been a VSC. It looks like Zados. It's interesting. I'm not sure where he lost it, but definitely, you know, out of the session already. And now everybody that finishes will score some points, which is pretty cool. So, we'll see if anybody opts for the pit lane, if anybody's got any damage on them, which I don't think there probably is. Naktrek and Nordy had a pretty nice little scrap to start off the fight. It looks like Issei is into the pit lane. So we will see what the Alpine driver... Issei is retired out of the points. Interesting choice. All right. Well, 9 drivers left in this one. But we'll have just about 10 laps left to go as that retirement will trundle out of the pit lane. And onto the circuit. And the field is pretty much bunched all together, so I would expect maybe this lap, if not certainly next lap, we will get back to racing. Interesting, the car actually retired in the pit lane. As far as I know, it didn't drive out onto circuit and then have to, park. I think it actually successfully retired in the pit lane, which is pretty great if that has been added to the game, if that feature is indeed consistent. So we did have an interesting moment in Brazil. I believe it was Division 2. One of the divisions where a car, pulls out of the pit lane, finds the closest marshal's post to retire at, which unfortunately was the outside of turn 4 because the pit lane rejoins on the inside of turn 3. But we've got... looks like one more lap under safety car conditions, so we will just relax for just a moment. The Curse Grand Prix Series continues. Knack Track up into 4th, the defending champion of the last Curse Grand Prix Series. But PlayStation really showing their hands in this one, as Clem had won the first round and looks to be on track and winning this second round so far in very good position. And, well, although things can change on a moment's notice here in the Curse Grand Prix Series. On PlayStation 1-2, Clem and Mako, Nordy, Division 1 driver representative, as is Knack Track. As you get ready to go racing, as Cruzo and Archduke are unsure of who needs to be ahead and overlapping once again and causing problems. But it looks like they've managed to bunch the field right back up. And Bernd Mailander getting his workout in the AMG Mercedes safety car in that bright red color. Kind of missed the silver safety car, but, you know, it is what it is. The red and green is a nice combo, though, I will give, between the Mercedes and Aston Martin safety cars. Probably good to have a bright red safety car in these conditions, because if it was silver and kicking up a bunch of gray spray, probably would be a little bit harder to see. So bright red, probably the good safety move, if we're being honest. But once again, Clem will have to restart this race from the front. They did manage to gap a good 1 second margin to their main rival Mako behind at the restart pretty easily within the first lap. But just getting tires up into temperature. And now it is just about time to rock and roll. We should get that safety car in this lap message in about 2 corners or so, as they head down through turn 11 up to turn 12. The right-hander. Death curb, not as much of a death curb in turn 12 on the right-hander there as it used to be. Still one you don't want to tangle with, but safety car is indeed in this lap. And we will see how Clem decides to restart this race. Has to wait for the safety car to get in. Is holding a nice steady pace. Getting the tires weaved and warmed up. We'll see as it is definitely bunching the field behind them. So safety car is already just about into the pit lane. Keep an eye on that yellow dot on the track map. Once it deviates off to the right, it is in the pit entry. And now at any point, Clem can go for the restart. They did it right out of the final corner last time. They've hesitated. They've not gone yet. They're still waiting. And now the throttle is down and away they go. The race is underway. We're back to green flags once again, a little bit further down the order. The battle will continue. 2 by 2 they go into turn 1. Space Ghost, Archduke, Cruzo, Knack Track. It looks like Cruzo has slotted in. Nordy and Knack Track battling it out for P3 once again. It looks like Nordy and Knack Track are going to be side by side to the left-hander. Nordy stays to the inside. Knack Track is going to have, a contact between the two as they're sliding over the runoff. It looks like they might have stayed out of the barriers on that one, but across the runoff they go as they got just a little bit hooked together. That wheel to side pod action, that's promoted one Cruzo de Cesaris into the podium positions ahead of Space Ghost and Archduke Oregano. Mako has stayed a little better with Clem, although still about a second off the lead now, even through that first sector. So the battle, though, between Knack Track and Nordy, not over yet, as they are still within a second of each other. Now, Ruprath has an opportunity to try and make a move on Bananarama. Looks to have had a little bit of a wiggle coming up the hill on the brakes. Can they close it? Oh, and sideways is Bananarama. They've had a big rear lockup. It looks like somehow the rest of the cars have avoided contact with that sideways Alfa Romeo. To the inside went Ruprath. To the outside went Nordy and Knack Track. So they've managed to sneak through safely. With nearly the whole track being blocked, I don't know how nobody ran into that, but they indeed pulled it off. They are top-tier racing drivers here, and we will keep an eye on this battle. Mako now closing to the back of Clem. Half a second the margin. Has Clem made a mistake in this one? We're on lap 21 of 29 as laps are starting to tick down, and Mako really putting the hammer down to try and catch up. Cruzo with a 2-second time or a 2-second gap to Space Ghost, has a little bit of breathing room for the podium positions here in their own Cursed Grand Prix series. But the real fight here between P1, P2, PlayStation holding the top of the timing sheets pretty much all day. We'll take a look now at the battle between Archduke and Space Ghost, as Mako has fallen just outside that 1-second margin. Looks to have had a little bit of a mistake through turns 2 and 3, as Cruzo has closed up just a little bit as well. But now Archduke Oregano trying to get back into 4th place, has dropped a Ruprath off just a little bit. Although Ruprath has got some ground to try and make up. Naktrek and Nordy a little bit spaced out now, so not the battle is cooled between those two, but it really got interesting down in turn 1, 2, and 3. And I think they know it was nobody's real fault in that one. And very good on the brakes as Archduke through that corner compared to Space Ghost. Space Ghost gets the throttle down a little bit better. So it's the ebb and flow of the corners. You can make up time on the brakes, but if you lose it on the exits, then you're kind of as you were before that. Mako's still holding on within a second of Clem out front, and that's what you need to do. You need to keep the pressure on, even if you may not be quick enough to overtake. When Clem's out there driving with a 2.5, 3-second advantage, they're under no pressure to exceed track limits. But if you can really put the heat on, maybe they start to get in danger of those track limits penalties. It's Cruzo now 2.4 seconds off the back of Mako, so that lead pack running away from Cruzo, and it is fastest laps quickly between Clem and Mako, as Mako sets the newer fastest lap by just a couple of hundredths, by about 600ths of a second. 44 zeros, the only ones down that low. Otherwise, the next fastest time, Nordy on the 44 twos, is a pretty quick lap from the Red Bull driver today. And I think they will probably be on the back of Ruprath relatively soon, I would assume. But the closer battle here between Archduke Oregano and Space Ghost continues on down into turn 4. And it looks like, once again, just Archduke makes up the time on the brakes. Space Ghost makes up the time on the exits. So Archduke is really going to need to utilize that to get the overtake done. They're just going to have to be close enough and then really send it on the brakes, I think, to try and use their advantage. Ruprath starting to close up, may get involved with this fight if it continues on, or if they start to go side by side. Wide is Archduke, though. Big mistake, or an on-throttle mistake from Space Ghost. He's facing the wrong way on the inside of turn 10. It looks like he managed to bring the car to a halt before it got into the barriers, but up a position goes Ruprath, Nordy, and Naktrek, and now Space goes down into 8th, and it's a Ferrari 3-4. 3.2 seconds the margin between them, but now Ruprath just a half a second back. Nordy now getting right on the gearbox of the Haas ahead. So we will see if Nordy can start picking their way back up through the field. Seems to have some very good pace under that Red Bull, as the battle up at the front still staying close, but nothing really doing in it so far. It's just kind of stands to be as they were, so to speak. We'll check up on this lead fight as it is now within 0.3 of a second. Mako seeming to make up some ground on the way into turn 1. Had to kind of just check up a little bit on the apex, and of course, as I look away, it looks like Ruprath, contact between Ruprath and Oregano. Ruprath, do not pull into the firing line. Naktrek avoids the rejoining Haas, and around goes Archduke Oregano. Too much right foot while trying to rejoin, and now Space Ghost back into the fight with, looks like a tangle between Ruprath and Archduke, going for P4 and 5, now 6 and 9. Nordy is up into 4th, has 4 seconds to go to catch up to Cruzo. With 5 laps left to go in this race, is it going to be an opportunity for Cruzo to maintain the podium positions? We'll see what Nordy can do. They've had the pace all day, but up at the front, Mako has managed to stay within touching distance this time on the restart of Clem. First stint, second stint, both times fell quickly out of that 1 second margin, but this time really keeping the pressure on the Williams driver ahead. Maybe an opportunity to make a late race maneuver and take the win away. It is the closest battle on track. Nordy now 3.6 seconds to Cruzo. He's got to find about a second a lap A little less than that, actually, to try and take the podium away. Cruzo needs to find some pace to try and stay on the podium. Mako once again seems to have a little bit of advantage in a straight line, or is just dumping the battery, but look at the gap. Closing. Ruprath with a 3-second time penalty. That is going to hurt their race, although Naktrack and Ruprath and Bananarama all even Stevens now, as it looks like Mako trying to set up, go for the cutback, just has to settle in as they get the power down, headed up the hill towards turn 4. Clem has got the exit that they need, has grown that gap a little bit. Nordy now 3.3 seconds. Archduke Oregano into the pits, likely going to go onto a new set of tires, maybe try and grab a fastest lap point in this one, as right now Mako is holding that bonus point. The track, of course, has remained at the same rainy level it's been the whole time, but a fresh set of full wets could be the difference. We'll grab it, and it is indeed a fresh set of full wets and that low fuel, and charge up the battery a little bit and go for a full send kind of lap, but half a second the margin between Clem and Mako here as we're on lap 25 of 29. Just a few laps left to go in this one. We may not get the 3-wide drag race we saw in Brazil or that we saw at the end of China, but Bananarama has picked up a 3-second time penalty. Are they carrying 6 seconds now? Let's take a look. Yes, they are carrying 6 seconds. So Space Ghost in position to be promoted ahead of Bananarama. He needs to try and get past Bananarama, though, because he's falling off the back of Ruprath, and Space Ghost needs to get inside that 3-second margin to MML. 2.2 seconds the gap between Nordy and Cruzo. It is coming down rapidly between the Red Bull and the Ferrari, and Cruzo's podium hopes may be deteriorating as this race dwindles on. He may just... the checkered flag may just not come out quick enough. Nordy, the fastest lap of the race now, 43.8, a good 0.2 faster than the previous fastest lap, and is definitely lapping faster than our leaders now at this point. Archduke Oregano, I would assume, is going to have a pretty quick lap going as well. Seems like Mako has the advantage on the exit of turn 14-15, but Clem really gets the hammer down well through turns 2, 3, and 4 on those two straights, and really gets the car rotated and going. Now it looks like Clem has picked up the pace a little bit, and Mako is going to have to press to try and stay within this margin. 1.1 now, the gap between Nordy and Cruzo. It's about to become the closest battle on track, as Clem and Mako are still pretty close, but not quite close enough for any kind of move to be affected. As for first half of the lap, Clem gains. Second half of the lap, Mako gains back, and it seems to be pretty even between the two. But Nordy now into the 1 second margin. We saw it tick under that 1 second for the first time, and now 0.8 of a second as they are really rapidly closing on to the back of Cruzo. And with 3 full laps left to go in this race, I think Cruzo is going to be going to have to defend quite hard in order to maintain a podium position, as Clem moving to break the slipstream from Mako, who is closing onto the back of the Williams. But this is also where Clem seems to be the strongest, is this exit of 2, 3, and 4, although it's mostly just because Mako has nowhere to go, has to stay in the slipstream. It's got to make that move stick before they get to turn 1. But the battle's still close here, and just in the background of your shot, you could see Cruzo and Nordy's battle starting to heat up between those two. We will jump back to those two and keep an eye on if the lead of the race gets any closer, but it looks like Nordy just has the grip to maintain and handle. It's about 0.2 out front, actually. I'm going to keep an eye on them as they come down into turn 9 and 10. Looks like Nordy has stayed behind at the hairpin, and on the brakes is Mako. He's getting very close to the back of Clem. Can he get the exit he needs out of turn 10? Hello, Charlie. Welcome to the last couple of laps of this one. We have a PlayStation battle out in the front for the lead of the race. Cruzo trying to hold on for a podium position with a hard-charging Nordy, who's made up 4 seconds in about 4 laps. But Cruzo just seems to be holding on, and this battle is as close as it's been so far. Archduke is out of the race. Archduke Oregano has retired from this one. That will not cause a safety car. We are on lap 27. It is too late in the race, and Archduke, who had pitted for those fresh wet tires to try and go for a faster lap, has crashed out of this race. Mako has got the release off the final corner I think he may need. Although defending with battery is Clem. You can see the ebb and flow in the intervals down the front straight. You just got to kind of send it. 2 laps to go in this one. The penultimate lap has started as Mako is just about pushing Clem through those first corners with the front wing. Nordy still has not yet made the move on one Mr. Cruzo, although it looks like he's gotten a run. So we'll check in with this fight. 3/10 the margin. Cruzo dumping what battery he's got. A little look to the inside in the braking zone. Nordy just has to hold up. Is only going to have a couple more opportunities to really make this move stick, especially without the help of the DRS in this one. It's back to about a half a second up at the front, so we'll keep an eye on that delta. But for the final podium position, it is getting very tight between a Ferrari and a Red Bull. Cruzo and Nordy, Div 2 versus Div 1. Nordy has had the pace to close the gap, but can he have the differential to make the overtake stick? He's gone a little bit deep. Oh, and the back end's around. Nordy has spun it on the penultimate lap. It's a half spin. He's going to be able to recover and maintain 4th place. No. Well, he's picked up a 3-second time penalty, but so does Knacktrack. But I think that's going to be just about all that Cruzo needs. He just needs to keep the car pointed in the right direction, and Cruzo will maintain a podium place in this pouring wet Bahrain race. Nordy lost about 2 seconds from that half spin, plus, though, the 3-second time penalty. So now, as you look down the order, you've got 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds for Nordy, Knacktrack, Ruprath, and 6 seconds for Bananarama. Space Ghost is 2 seconds off the back of Bananarama, but will not make any further position. Oh, big snap of oversteer for Mako. One of the last best overtaking opportunities he was going to have as they start the final lap of the race. A mistake from the Aston Martin, and that may be just the tiny window that Clem needs to hold on for this race victory at the front of the pack here. Down into turn 1. Mako makes up some time on the brakes, closes to the back. Needs the momentum, needs to try and get something done in turn 4. How have they gotten the release? It looks like Clem has got the better launch off of turn 3 and is going to use all the track that they need in turn 4. Very tough to overtake through this winding little S section, although definitely some opportunities for mistakes. And of course, you still have to navigate turns 9 and 10 at the end of this little section where we've seen so many mistakes, including the mistake we just saw from Nordy, where the rear tires lock, the back end steps out on you as the engine braking comes in. And up the hill they go. Clem, Mako, side by side. Will Mako get a nose up the inside? No, he's going to stay there. He's had a good launch. Oh, he's got the up and under. Can he get the launch? No, he hasn't got the traction down. Here comes Mako. He's got the slipstream. It's just a 10th in it. Into on braking. He's going to the outside. Can he be later on the brakes than Clem? He's got the wheel alongside. He needs the space. It's going to switch to the inside as they head up the hill. Who's got the traction? On the inside, nearly they touch, and it looks like Clem has the momentum around the outside, but on braking, contact between the two, they bang wheels. Clem is out wide. Mako has taken the position away. Space Ghost has spun through turn 10, and I don't know. It looks like Mako is yielding that position from the contact. Good sportsman. They're going to try and attack in the final corner, though. They've given the position back. Big snap of oversteers. They try and go once again, and across the line they come. Clem is going to win. Mako nearly an opportunity. Nordy has caught right up to the back of Cruzo, but that 3-second time penalty means Cruzo on the podium in this one. Nordy in 4th. Knacktrack will come across the line in 5th. The Salt and Sauce trying to restart his championship challenge. Ruprath across the line in 6th. And we'll have Bananarama and Space Ghost as our final finishers. Archduke may get, I believe, may get a point or 2 points because he did retire on lap 27. So he did complete 90% of the race as across the line goes Space Ghost, and the AA is going to do an Austin Powers turnaround in the McLaren. But what a fair and great race at the very end there. couple of safety cars after the midway point of the race, but a great battle between the top two. PlayStation 1 and 2 in this race. And we'll catch up with the podium. But Cruzo, the organizer of this cursed Grand Prix series, manages to secure a podium in the Ferrari, and it looked like for a moment that Nordy was going to snake it, but right in turn 10, the trickiest corner, tricky corner, and it was a rear lockup that ended up doing it in, but Rireen, aka now Clem, PlayStation Division 1 champion this season, comes ahead of their main championship rival Mako, as it's a PlayStation 1-2, and Cruzo rounds out the podium in that one. Thank you for joining me once again. Your final provisional order: Clem, Mako, Cruzo. Nordy picks up the fastest lap point in P4, though. Knacktrack 5th, Ruprath 6th, Bananarama, Space Ghost, Archduke Oregano is your first retirement, though will be classified. Issei, Zados, Chronicle, and RN, your other retirements in this race. But a fantastic drive from our drivers today. Thank you so much for joining. We are headed next time out to Abu Dhabi, I believe it is. Without as much of a wrinkle being because of the weather, we will be headed to Abu Dhabi, but everybody will be out of money. So it'll be Formula 2 cars. So it should be a good cracker of a race coming up in that one. Hopefully you join us. I believe that'll be next weekend, if I'm not mistaken. But thank you for sticking with me and hanging out during these off-season events. They are sometimes a little bit lighter on the grid size, but still produce some good racing action. That's all it takes is some two people. And it was a good run. But thank you guys for joining me on the FRS main channel. Once again, FRS Motorsports. Keep an eye out as other stuff. I believe later on this weekend we should have an FRS endurance race going on, the FRS 420. Although I believe that starts at ungodly times for me, like 6 a.m. for me. So I unfortunately will not be on the broadcasts for that. But hopefully they're enjoyable. But I'll catch you guys next time as we gear up. Have a great day. Peace.